Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, a show dedicated to helping you expand your capacity, take your life in every area to an entirely new level, and creating a day and a life by design. Here's your host, Dan Hafner. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Run Your Day podcast. As always, your host, Dan Hafner here. Happy you guys are joining me today. Today's topic is this. You got to enjoy the little things. As always, I appreciate you all joining. Enjoy this episode. All right, everyone. So today we're going to talk about enjoying the little things. Now, I had... For those of you that have listened to some of the previous, 20, 30 episodes or so, I've been going through a big life change with moving from West Virginia up to Pennsylvania. As of yesterday, actually, we have closed on our new house, and we've got that process pretty much wrapped up and done. So it was quite a story, quite a predicament we got ourselves into, but we figured it out. And sitting there at the closing yesterday, and this thought and this feeling, this concept came over me, was that you have to not only enjoy the little things, but you have to pay attention to the little things, right? As I sat there, as the lady was just going through all the paperwork, as I'm signing and we're going through and reading it and getting all the disclosure and whatnot, this thought just kind of struck me that there were so many little things we had to do. Like when it came to looking at houses, when it came to scheduling the right time to go, when it came to making sure we had everything taken care of at home so we could go do that. When it came to getting the insurance stuff lined up, when it came to finding the right things and getting the right contact and getting the applications in and making sure we had all this straightened out, and the loan application, just so much crap, so much. Sometimes I wanted to beat my head against the wall. It was like every day someone was calling me. It was the lender, the realtor, or the settlement company, or like somebody. And it was just like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? Right. And I'm sitting there in the closing and I'm signing this, and I'm like, man, like I look back and I almost enjoy those little things because they led to this big, awesome breakthrough. This one big thing that we now have a house. Like we closed on it. We closed the deal. It's good to go, right? So it was just a really interesting, really interesting concept, because I think a lot of times, many of us, regardless of what you do or what situation in life you're in, or what area of your life you really talk about, we all tend to ignore, or at least forget about, the details from time to time. Like, right? Like you can forget about the details in a relationship. You can forget about them at a workout. You can forget about them, especially at your job or your career or your business or whatever it might be. Right. And I'll admit, like, I'm like this too. I do let details slide from time to time. But the further down this path I've gone of being in my own business, and just the crazy weird shit we've done in life up to this point with my wife and I, with just moving everywhere and in the industry she's in and all this stuff, the more I just realize, like, the victory is in the details. Right? Let me say that again for you. The victory is in the details. The more I've come to learn about just really, I hate to use the word obsessing, but like it's really the best one that really makes sense, because I wouldn't call myself obsessed yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting very, very more, I shouldn't say that, but like pay more attention to those things, right? Because the more you obsess about these details, the more you really start to be like, okay, the victory is really in the details of this, not just knowing what your spouse likes to do on a date night, but knowing what their favorite dish is, how they like it prepared, how they prefer something to be, whatever that might be, right? That intimate knowledge, that intimate detail is what truly separates you as that significant person in their life, right? And it comes the same with like a workout, right? You can just go through the motions. You can do something, whether it's a HIIT workout or a gym workout or even just a running workout or whatever it might be. But you can go through the motions and just kind of be like, okay, I got my workout in for the day, like move on with my life. But if you're really paying attention to the reps, each individual rep that you're doing, or each individual mile you're running, or whatever it might be, and you're paying attention to like the pace or the particular way you're squeezing your muscles when you're doing a bench press or you're squatting, or like the details of it, like they don't manifest themselves right away. You don't see the marginal gains in those tweaks and those changes right away, right? And that's what's frustrating for a lot of us, because we're like, man, I'm doing the details. I'm like, I'm sticking to it. I'm just not seeing the results, right? And that's not how it works, because once you learn that it's that continual compound effect of paying attention to and executing on those details day in and day out and being consistent as shit with it, like that's when you look back 3 months later and you're like, wow, yeah, those actually, those were gains. Those details really did add up, right? And you can apply this across any area. Like you can be more attentive and a better listener with your spouse, and then realize like, wow, we actually have a better connection, better communication, like 2-3 months down the road. Oh, wow. Like you don't see it right away. You don't see the results and the benefits of it right away. And we're such an instant gratification world that we give up on this stuff. And I know this because I do this all the time. Like I'm not coming down from like, I'm not speaking down to you from like my big soap opera box being like, oh, I've figured this out. Like this is my life. This is how I work too, right? I realize that at times I start to be like, well, I've made this change and I haven't seen any results from it for a week, so screw it. I'm not going to do it. And then I catch myself. But I've learned over time of screwing this up for years, right? To just be like, oh, okay, wait, hold on a second. This small change, this detail I'm now paying attention to, let's call it in the domain of business, right? Okay, this small change I'm doing, it's actually like it's making me feel a little bit better about the results that I'm seeing. Even though I know that the gains I'm seeing aren't really coming through right now, I know if I stick to this, like this will actually work. This will be better, right? So I need to just stick with it. I need to be more consistent with it. Whereas, 2 years ago, even 6 months ago, I would have been like, well, this isn't working. Let's flush it down the toilet and move on to the next thing, right? So there's this continual refinement in this process of just enjoying those little things. And that's where this all comes back to the title of the show, just enjoying. Because when the details become cumbersome, when they become like, oh my God, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this, like you're not going to pay attention to them. You're not going to give a shit, right? Like you're just going to throw them to the wayside and be like, well, those will take care of themselves, or I don't even care, or whatever, right? So it almost becomes this entire shift in this mentality change where you start to realize like, no, like the more I love these details, I'm addicted to these types of these details, these small marginal wins that I'm experiencing. Even though I don't see the results from them right now today, I know that I'm going to see the gains from these. And like I'm living proof of this. Like when I just look back at my life like 2 months ago when we first moved up to Pennsylvania and where things are now, not only like inside of the results that I see, but just like the habits, the routines, the behaviors, the mentality that I have, it's a world of difference. But it wasn't happening 4 weeks ago. It wasn't happening. I started to realize it today. And that's why I wanted to come on here and do this podcast episode about this, because it's it's a beautiful thing. Like but it's so easy for us. It's so easy for us to just get caught up in all, like, the elections are coming up, the COVID-19, all the stuff on the news, just all this different stuff. It's so easy for us to get caught up in stuff and just forget about what we're doing or the direction we're going or the vision we have. But it comes back to the little things, right? It comes back to those little details inside of your life, inside of your execution, inside of the domain that you're pushing inside of. And just taking the time to enjoy and fall in love with the details. The details are where it's at, my friend. And it's tough. Like it's a tough process to learn. Like I said, this has been a process of refinement for me. But what I encourage you to do today is to think about this to yourself. Here's my question for you. Where in your life do you know that you need to pay more attention to the details and start enjoying the little things, right? Is it inside of your job, career, business? Do you need to pay more attention to the details inside of a particular relationship in your life? Do you need to pay more attention inside of your fitness or your diet routines or anything at all? Just where is that area, and what can you do to improve and start loving those details today or very soon, within the next couple of days? All right, my friends. So that is my question for you and my the show for you today. That's going to be a wrap for this one. So as always, I appreciate you all joining. Head over to runwageapp.com to check out the latest additions to the RunWage app. It's going to be pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited for it. And I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to the details inside of that as well. So as a side note, so it's definitely getting better. People are getting good results through it. So I really appreciate you guys joining. As always, Dan Hafner signing off. Make it a great rest of your day. Hey, have you ever thought about joining a virtual run challenge? As COVID-19 continues to upend our lives and change our life routines, finding fresh ways to challenge yourself physically can be difficult. I know I'm having trouble with that. It can also be pretty hard to connect with others and find accountability partners for the purpose of fitness as well. That's why we created RunWage Virtual Challenges. RunWage Challenges are a new and exciting way to stay physically active and maintain social distancing. Every challenge takes place 100% online, and you can compete against and engage with runners from all over the world. Best of all, they are the only virtual challenges out there which actually reward participants with real cash. That means you have no excuse for staying inactive during this pandemic. So if you've been looking for a fresh and interesting way to stay active and get your miles in, go to runwageapp.com/virtual challenges to join me and the diverse community of runners already competing. That's runwageapp.com/virtual challenges. Can't wait to see you there.